Bill, I have been and always shall be your fan. Live long and prosper.
Crazy, man.
Good morning, YouTube. I had just about the best day of my life on Friday because worlds collided for me. Star Trek, whatever the hell that was.
You just dropped the escalator.
And cars went. And I helped William Shatner sell his Jaguar.
Yes, you did.
It was an amazing thing that happened at the Fall Scottsdale auction.
I can't believe it happened, actually, because like the one person at the top of your list of celebrities or influences
Well, it's not 7 of 9, but no, it's William Shatner, certainly the GOAT.
Yeah.
When it comes to captains, I guess that's arguable. I mean, Picard was a pretty amazing captain, but
Right.
yeah, William Shatner, at 93 years old, came to Barrett-Jackson to sell his 2016 Jaguar F-Type R.
Right.
He did this about 8 years ago. He sold his Aston Martin DB7 at the V12, and I think a Volkswagen Phaeton.
Oh.
And he chose the Volkswagen Phaeton because it's sort of an under the radar, not like over the top flashy thing, but still like had all the Bentley luxury and stuff.
Right.
So he could buy whatever he wants.
Yeah.
But somewhat modest in that sense. He likes to waste all his money on horses and not cars. But so not only did I help William Shatner sell his car, which I will talk to you about that in a little bit.
Well,
but
can we just say
I did the thing.
In our production meeting, they assigned Shatner to me. And then all of a sudden, there's like 20 people on this production Zoom call. All of a sudden, you see a hand going up like this on the screen, and then Tyler's collection of all the starships behind him. So obviously, we have to default to Tyler.
Right.
Everyone's like, what's going on? And of course, #1 fan.
Right. So I did Wrath of Khan Spock Death to William Shatner.
You did.
I'll show it to you in a little bit, but I pretended to be Spock, and I died in front of him on national television, and it was one of the most amazing moments of my life. But the setup of it, there was no way I was not interviewing William Shatner. There's no way. So I did not sleep well the night before because I was so excited about interviewing William Shatner. Yes.
Oh my gosh, that's great.
And that morning, I'm there, and I want to make sure it happens. But right as we come on air, William Shatner's Jaguar is basically going to sell in the first 15 minutes of the first segment. They're like, we really want to interview him before the car sells because that makes more sense than afterwards.
Right.
You need to talk about his show, The Unexplained, 7 seasons, Friday nights on History at 9/8 Central. Gotta make sure to get that in there.
Right.
But otherwise, whatever you want to ask.
Yeah.
Obviously, I needed to do a little bit car related, but I didn't want to lose him because I knew he was leaving right after his car sold. So it was like a 15-minute window of television for me to get this done. And they had done something with him on social media beforehand.
Right.
And then they sat him down in the skybox to watch the auction action until his car came around. So I saw him up there. It's Bill Shatner. It's William Shatner. It's Captain James T. Kirk.
Bill.
Well, he likes to be called Bill.
Okay.
I go upstairs. I go up to him. I shake my hand. I shake his hand. I shake my hand. But no, I'm still nervous. And introduce myself and tell him that I would like to do something for the broadcast. And he said, yes, that's great. Yeah. Yes, let's do it. But the car's coming, I think, right at 1 o'clock.
Right.
And it's like, yeah, we're coming on the air at 1 o'clock. Well, that might work out just fine. But I want to make sure that this is a very high energy interview.
And this is Shatner saying
This is William Shatner saying.
Right.
I want to make sure this is a high energy interview to match what is happening on the block. Because the block is so fast, so high energy. I want it to be fast and high energy.
Right.
Yeah, obviously, he's never met me before, so it's like, I'm like, no problem, Bill, I got this. So I was asked, so here's the things I was thinking about asking, and he's like, okay, yeah, I can get through that. Yeah, I got an answer to that. Okay, well, let's do this. I didn't tell him about the end part.
Right.
And I got this broad idea of rather than doing a normal show open of like, hey guys, look at all these cool cars selling today, and here's what I'm looking forward to, this, and this. Why don't I open the show with Captain James T. Kirk of the Enterprise?
Yes.
People in the truck were like, sure. They don't let me interview people usually, and so they had no idea what to expect. And that's April's thing she's been doing forever. They just, let me be a nerd on cars. And April, she interviewed Sammy Hagar on Saturday, and I interviewed plenty of other people. So it's rare for me to interview someone. But yeah, I opened the show with Bill, and well, here, let's just watch, shall we? So this is Mike Joy, the voice of NASCAR, introducing me, which is already crazy enough.
So how nervous are you right
I'm with
now?
I'm not.
someone who needs
I'm
no
honestly not.
introduction. William Shatner.
Introduce me anyway.
Well, yeah, Bill Shatner, Captain Kirk,
He
TJ
wanted to be
Hooker, Denny
introduced.
Crane, the man. He is back at Barrett Jackson selling another car, a Jaguar. You were here a few years ago selling an Aston Martin, right?
You know, even you are caught up in the rhythm of this thing. It's like you got to talk fast. Yeah, I got a car. I got
This is what he wanted to do.
Yeah.
He wanted to be like the auction.
It's coming up right now. So
He's
keep the
crazy.
table up and bid on the car.
Absolutely. So, back in Star Trek in 1966 to 69, do you remember what you were driving to the
I was
set?
really
back
hoping
then?
he would remember.
Yeah.
But he said, I don't remember.
Myself crazy because Leonard never picked me up in his car.
So in Leonard Nimoy's Fox, he's cracking a joke.
I was very loud here on the block. I'm sorry.
So he was like, "Why are we yelling?" I was gonna say, "Oh yeah, I've seen a picture online of Leonard Nimoy in his '63 Buick Riviera in the Spock costume. That looks like really cool." But then while we were talking, he's like, "Why are we yelling?" And I was like, "Well, it's loud in here."
Right.
It's just.
But wasn't that a spoof off of like a skit that he's done before?
It
Why
seemed
are we
seemed in
yelling?
character
Yeah,
for him.
okay.
Yes, for like a Denny Crane type or something. Yeah, it was funny.
Into cars from Star Trek. Can you think of a few that you were very surprised
So
to
I'm
see in
asking
the
about
car that were
technology
on
that
Right.
has found its way into
British
cars.
Enterprise back in the day?
No, that's back in the day. I love the modern cars. I race cars.
He was a
have
very
cars.
active
I'm
race car driver,
selling
yeah.
this car
In
reluctantly.
the like celebrity racing series.
I'm involved in the whole technology of how cars have been improving.
And-
How coherent
suspension,
he is and
engines,
what
Right.
he's spoken
smaller
for
bore,
being 93.
more power.
And while he's answering the question there in my ear saying, remember, you don't forget the unexplained, ask about the unexplained.
I mean, everything about cars has been exponentially
But I'm also
improved.
thinking about what I'm
Absolutely.
about
And
to
you're
do.
still a very busy man in your 90s.
Brace
New show,
yourselves.
New episode tonight. It's 7 seasons of The Unexplained tonight at 9 p.m., 8 Central on History.
Wow, listen to you.
Nailed
I
it.
gotta say, Bill, I have been and always shall be your fan. Live long and prosper.
Crazy, man.
He had no idea you were doing that.
And now, to continue the
And we're
show,
live
Mm-hmm.
on
we have
national
a car for sale
TV.
here.
And
Yeah.
he luckily takes
As soon
the
as
mic.
he's
Oh, yeah.
revived,
Because he didn't
he'll
know
get in the
anything.
car.
He didn't know to
Thank
do
you very
anything.
Yeah, he's emceeing the show right now.
Right.
He's taken over the Barrett Jackson broadcast entirely. He's smart improv. That's what he's famous for, being
Right.
a amazing improvisational actor and
Because
all
when
this
that
stuff.
happened, I wondered what was going to happen because he doesn't have any producers in his ears telling him to talk. He doesn't even know he should be talking. Like, I don't
That
know. You're
man
lying on the ground.
knows what
And
to do.
he just, without a second of hesitation, just kept the show going.
70+ year career. He knew
Yeah,
what to do.
yeah.
I didn't need to prep him for it, but for all you Star Trek nerds, but for those of you that don't or are a little hazy, I did Star Trek II, Wrath of Khan, Spock's death to William Shatner. And I don't know how many other people have done it since Leonard Nimoy, rest in peace, because in the movie, he saved the Enterprise. He's in the engine room that's now filled with radiation. He's got the ship to go to warp by what he did, but he's now had a fatal dose of radiation. He
Right.
can't even leave the compartment that he's in because it's so flooded with radiation. But it's a clear glass room, and he's able to have one last conversation with his captain. He puts the up against the glass and says, "I have been and always shall be your friend. Live long and prosper." And then he croaks. And that is what I did
Well, and
to William Shatner.
I love that you said, I will always be your fan.
I switched it to fan and then
great.
collapsed.
You did.
Beat that.
That was amazing.
Big moment.
How do
But
we even top that on this show? That should be just
the-
it.
I will never come close to that. Then
So right after it happened, were you like ecstatic? Were you shaky? Did you have like leftover adrenaline
No.
giving you shakes? Were
No.
you just like on
It
top of
was-
the world?
It was like I knew what I had to do, and I did it.
So you completed the
And
mission.
if it totally flopped, if I got fired because of it, if
that might
I mean
happen,
whatever,
actually.
I just knew what I had to do.
Yeah.
And I get up, and Captain Kirk, Bill Shatner, hands me back the mic, and he said, "Great job. That was perfect.
Yeah.
That was awesome. That's
It
what I
really
wanted."
was.
And then he went up to the block, and it was 3 or 4 cars, and then his Jaguar come up across
Mm-hmm.
the block. It sold for $61,600. It only had 8,000 miles on it, but there was definitely a William Shatner premium, and he was,
Right.
spoofing on the auctioneers, spoofing on
Right.
everybody else. But the retail value of that car is maybe mid-30s on its best day.
Right.
So the Shatner premium brought double.
Right.
You got You got the car that,
Right.
yeah, but
here's why I don't think you're actually going to get fired, but you did say something else during the sale of his Jaguar. That is a little
so
questionable.
I have to do like almost 30 hours of live television.
Yeah.
And on the show, I'm a bit more spit and polish.
Yes.
You know, it's a little more professional than
Right.
doing YouTube and making a little juvenile, a little potty humor with the car wizard in his
Yeah.
garage and stuff. Sometimes it slips. And Rick DeBrule asked me, Tyler, why aren't you bidding? Don't you want William Shatner's Jaguar? And I'm not even thinking. I just said, well, who doesn't want a car that Captain Kirk farted in the seat?
You can't say that. You can't say that.
I said it on national television.
You can't say that.
And I've said this before, like it comes from like early YouTube videos where like I remember doing that bit for Freddie when he bought Doug DeMuro's Aston Martin. It was one of Freddie's earliest videos. And like I'm driving Doug's Aston Martin and then I get out and I just start, I dig my nose in the seat. See if I can still smell Doug's ass in this thing. I'm driving the famous Doug car. Doug actually farted in this seat probably hundreds of times. Like, you know, just like...
Did you say that in the video?
I think so, something like that. It just, I mean, it was some very, yeah. So it's me, and like I know there was one other part with Rick where we got in a conversation about a car getting girls, and I said, there's no way any cars really ever gotten a girl. Like the girls don't really pay attention all that much for the most part. Cars are dude magnets.
Right.
They come up to you,
Right.
and
Well, that's what I was talking
like,
about the Chevelle, the 70 Chevelle, the LS6.
Dudes.
That's a total dude magnet car.
dudes. Yeah.
Right.
They're going to nice car. You're going to get conversation. You're not going to get conversation from girls. And then Rick said, that's not true.
Yeah.
When I drive my BMW Isetta, which is a little tiny microcar BMW, like
Right.
a little vintage
They're very
thing.
cute.
I get girls coming up to me all the time saying, I love your car. It's so cute. And then having conversations with me. And I said, Rick, I didn't even think about it again. I was like, Rick, that's because that car makes everything look bigger.
Stop it. You can't say.
And I said that on national television. So
You're going to get fired.
I don't want to. I know. I'm so sorry.
myself.
I'm so sorry. And I, you know, it's still PG humor, I guess. I mean, it's ambiguous, but
But they're like concerned would be like kids are watching, and well, what does that mean? You know.
there's my fatal flaw is this. The mental filter, and I got a mic in my hand, you know, and same when I'm talking to people, and you know,
You
they're
don't have a filter. That's true.
well,
Social.
like, and
You don't have
I
a social filter.
so
That's
I
okay.
owe an apology to someone at Barrett Jackson, Elliot's friend.
Really?
The pilot friend, remember?
Oh.
I introduced
true.
Elliot's friend to April.
Well,
and
Elliot is a big car guy, friend of yours. He does worldwide auctions, and he just came out as a guest.
our friend who was on here who says Elliot a simp. Yeah, that one. He had his friend who's a pilot, but when he was learning how to fly planes and getting all the time and all that stuff, he crashed a plane. And so I introduced him, or he got introduced, and I said, oh, yeah, April, he crashed a plane. That was the first thing that blurted out of my mouth. When
Right.
you're a professional pilot and that's your career, the last thing you want to talk about is your biggest failing, probably as a, like, you know,
I probably wouldn't want you to bring it up like right now either.
right. Hi, I'm shaking hands with a supermodel, and then this dweeb is saying I crashed an airplane. You know, and like this guy's a veteran. He's a very accomplished, very, you know, he's a much bigger, stronger man than me too. So he didn't
Yeah.
break me in half, which was nice of him.
Yeah.
But
He's going to now after talking about
well, I
it.
wanted to apologize because like
Okay.
things just blurt out sometimes, and I feel bad.
I do.
And-
I need a little taser like in with a remote control
Right.
so I could be like.
Yeah, honey, let's see what's up.
But I think it makes it more fun. You're loose and you're real. Like you're actually what you're thinking is coming
Yeah,
out. So I
I'm-
enjoy it.
I'm sorry if this broadcast. I don't think Bill's a comedian, funny, you know, stuff
Right.
like it. So I don't think he cares. And
No.
Rick didn't care that I talked about his car making everything look bigger. But yeah, I mean, I guess it spices up the broadcast a little bit from what it's been for the last 20 years. And for the most part, I follow that mold. But sometimes, anyway, I need to work on myself a little bit here.
No, I think you're great. I think it's perfect, and you should just let it roll.
So, Jaguar.
Yes.
F-Type R, Captain Kirk's Jag. I mean, forget like the captain's chair of the Bridge of the Enterprise. Yeah, you can buy that, but this is something that Captain Kirk
All
actually
I can
piloted.
think of is that you're going to smell it, even the captain's chair on the Enterprise.
No,
You're
I
gonna
didn't.
smell the
I didn't
chair.
go into that seat. And go, no, I didn't. So, yeah. So thank you so much, Bill Shatner, for that experience, for me to be a scene partner and to play Spock, and for like just being there and having fun and giving me that pat on the back that I will remember for the rest of my life.
Right.
Like that was such. Even though it was just a second, just that little bit of encouragement to know I did exactly what he wanted and he was happy and like, because he's a performer,
Of course,
and
yeah.
like he does the spoken word, somewhat singing, rapping in front of audiences. Like the guy loves an audience and he wants to do well. Every time he's on television, he wants to entertain, and so I put him in that position to. What our producer said was probably the greatest show open of Bear Jackson they've ever seen, because William Shatner's opening the show, and I collapsed down the floor. And he's saying, as soon as he's revived, he'll get in the car and help and continue the broadcast. And then Mike takes over. So big moment.
Huge.
But
nothing will top that. I feel like.
It's tough.
But
anyway,
this car sold for almost double of what.
$61,600 with fees. Yeah, that's really good. So, what was your favorite cars at the auction, April?
I just think it was really cool. There was a EV El Camino. I forget what year it is. Maybe 70.
72, I think. Yeah.
And it's just interesting to see the resto mods and what they keep doing and builders keep doing. And now we're starting to see electric resto mods.
Right.
And of course, being an El Camino, it's one of the coolest cars ever.
That could quite possibly be a record for a 72 El Camino.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
not, I mean, 70 is the big year for El Caminos, and 72 is the same body style,
Yeah.
but not the most desirable year.
Yeah, 70's better, yeah.
And nobody was expecting that, I don't think, because it was a Friday car. And, usually six-figure cars, I mean, there's some six-figure cars on Friday, but most of them are on Super Saturday. And I don't think any of us in our group was expecting maybe half that.
Absolutely half.
So I imagine they're thrilled. It had 150 miles of range. Yeah, sold for $110,000. It had 150 miles of range, 650 pound-feet of torque.
What happens if we made the Grand Camino electric?
It could. I mean, it already has the wrong drivetrain since it doesn't have the Grand National engine. So, but yeah, that 305's running okay. You have to figure out air conditioning. You have to figure out a lot of stuff. There's a lot of work on this thing.
For sure.
And actually, the battery pack was in a small confined spot of the bed where a lot of the bed was still usable.
Right.
I thought when I would pop the tonneau cover in the back, I was going to see like a big bank of batteries taking up the whole trunk. And it's not true. It was maybe a quarter or a third of it.
Well, that would be the perfect car to be splaying out all the batteries in the back there, because there's that bed.
Yeah. So what was your other favorite of the auction?
Oh, well, okay, so Cars by Constance, who she has like a show on Netflix. Love her, amazing girl.
Yes.
And she brought this 1960 Starliner that had a 4GT engine in it.
A 2006 V8 supercharged.
And like even inside, it had all the kind of toggle switches the 4GT has in it.
The whole gauge cluster.
Really cool idea. Just interesting. I've never even thought, I would never think.
So the 0506 4GT, mid-engine, right behind your head, supercharger, 5.4 liter, 6-speed manual. They got it to be in a front engine car. They bought it as a crate, but the intake's still in the back, so they had to run the air from the firewall to the intake, so everything's stock. So very pretty engine bay presentation there. And then, getting the 06 4GT cluster above and beyond crazy, and then the body's beautiful.
You don't walk up to a car thinking it's going to look like that on the inside at all, ever. I've never walked up to that like 60s, 50s, 60s type of car and seen the treatment inside, because nobody does that.
Right. It sold for $225,000, which sounds like a lot, but given the amount of work put into it and probably what that crate engine cost, that it was a deal. Yeah. I know they did the show circuit for a long time with it, so I mean it was a proof of like what they can do, and then afterwards you sell it, you never know what it's going to bring. I think maybe if it wasn't in a Starliner, if it was in a Galaxy or a Mustang or something like that, a car that really people remember and latch onto, that maybe, they did such an amazing job with it.
Let's do something different. Let's not do it in a car you would expect, and that's a car I wouldn't expect.
$225,000, pretty darn good. So, yes. Anything else?
Okay, also, this 62 Corvette, just completely redone. They backdated it, put in the two-tone Cove color on it, and the Coves match the interior.
Yeah, supercharged LT4, which is like the engine of choice for these, like a C7 Z06, 650 horsepower.
Like just a piece of art, not an engine. Like that's
they painted the supercharger mint green and the valve covers mint green.
It's so cool, and they even backdated the grille to have the teeth on it again. Which I like that look. I know your 62 doesn't have that, but it's like a quintessential Americana Corvette with the teeth on the front.
That was the big Corvette of the sale. $550,000 for a custom Corvette.
Cool. It is so cool.
Holy moly! I got one of those in the '62 in my garage for $40,000. So,
right, and even the wheels on it. So I like wheels that have a more of a stock appearance to it. But like, these were beautiful, and they almost look like they were some sort of cloth weaved, even though obviously they're metal. But it's just a very elegant looking car. I really love that.
Yeah, it was very pretty, and it makes you wonder, should I, do that with mine? So
that would be fun. You got some work lifts.
I have a work lift in a garage. Would that be
garage.
my new project, or might it be take years probably, just little by little? But
okay, so what
fun
did
to try.
you have your eye on?
Oh, so obviously the Sammy Hagar Ferrari,
Right.
which was crazy. So almost all Barrett-Jacksons are no reserve auctions entirely, and that's the big difference between say a Mecum or any others where there's a reserve, and then so they're bid and the car doesn't sell, and it's like wah wah.
Right.
And they had two reserve cars at Barrett-Jackson, the Bugatti Chiron, which did not meet reserve, which is I'd never been at a Barrett-Jackson where a car didn't meet reserve, so that was interesting, kind of a bummer. But that LaFerrari was another one that had a reserve on it, owned by Sammy Hagar, the Red Rocker. It's the I Can't Drive 55, which is and the music video is him driving a Ferrari 512, I think, and just one of those iconic music videos with a car in it.
Right.
So obviously Ferrari loves him.
Head forever.
They let him spec this LaFerrari as a one-off, whatever he wants. He walked through the factory after like doing some crazy busy spec and then just wanted to walk away from it for a while. This was like a multi-day process. Walked around at all the vintage race cars. Saw this one in this sort of cream color, a race car. I said, that looks beautiful. Let's do that.
Right.
And so he spec'd the entire thing as cream. You see most LaFerraris in red or loud colors. So one off in that sense, which makes it special.
Well, and what I thought was interesting is, I was asking why you're selling it. I did the interview on air, and he didn't say that it was dangerous, but that was where the conversation was going, where these are actual, real, serious machines that can be dangerous. And to ride it to its full potential, he was never going to do that. And
it's tough.
I appreciate that when you get a supercar like this, you want it to be driven. You don't just want to sit it and look at it, be a trailer queen all the time. Like he's a real car guy. It should be taken out and driven and appreciated to its full potential.
I think his speeding ticket that inspired his song was like for 7 miles per hour over, like 62 and a 55.
Yeah.
So nothing extreme, but it pissed him off so much that he wrote the song.
Right.
So yeah, this thing, it'd be so easy to do 162 and a 55 or 200 and a 55.
Well, and like, what's the top speed in it?
It's
somewhere
insane,
in
219, I think, miles an hour.
Right.
So yeah, almost 1,000 horsepower with the hybrid drivetrain.
Right.
So yeah, and it was supposed to be in the January sale, but then the high voltage hybrid battery failed. It was a multi six-figure replacement.
How much?
And
like $200,000.
Yeah, something like that. So it was all serviced up, ready for be the headliner of the fall Scottsdale. And it did meet reserve and sold.
Right.
And I do believe, and because I was doing a little bit of research, it is the second most expensive car to ever sell at Barrett-Jackson.
And
So
really?
number one is the Shelby Super Snake for $5.5 million, and this one sold for $4,675,000.
And the
The old number
Batmobile.
two,
Right.
Batmobile, $4,620,000.
Okay, so just barely beat that out.
And then the GM Futureliner, $4.4 million. Like I was in the room for all of these growing up, like as a kid and in college and stuff.
Actually on location at Barrett-Jackson.
At Barrett-Jackson, I was there for the Super Snake selling the first time, and then working on the broadcast the second time.
Yeah.
I was there for the Batmobile. You were working. I was just some schmuck in the audience, probably drooling at you on the block.
Stop it.
And then the Futureliner, I was there for that one as well. This would have been probably early college for me, 05, 06, something like that. And the L88.
Right.
$3.8 million for a crazy nice, very rare L88 C2 Corvette. And then, the very first Z06 C8, $3.6 million, the charity cars.
Right.
The Bonneville special concept car, I was there for that, $3.3 million. And then this one, in 2005, that was the second year that I went, and we just could not believe it. $3,240,000 for the Oldsmobile F88 concept car.
R2 concept cars, would you say most car makers completely destroy concept cars? Is that what they're supposed to do?
Yeah, most of them get destroyed. Some of them get snuck out. Some of them get repurposed, like the Batmobile was a Lincoln Futura, I think, concept car before it was turned into the Batmobile.
Right.
But yeah, that's there's a list of the top 10, and it's like the first Corvette Stingray for charity, Tucker Torpedo, which those have sort of dropped a little bit. We saw in recent auctions, but yeah, $2,915 for that, $915,000, and yeah, the famous racing Corvette number 57 Rebel, $2,860,000. So now we've seen this second biggest sale ever at Barrett-Jackson.
Huge.
And I was on the block for it, and thankfully didn't say anything stupid with that. I don't think I haven't rewatched it yet.
Smell the seat.
But it
Sammy
brought.
Hagar.
Yeah, I didn't make that joke. But I think Sammy Hagar inspired a lot of other people to bring their Ferraris to the sale. So because it's kind of like a Ferrari showroom. There's like a 348, there's a Testarossa, there's a Mondial, there was two SF90s, 296 GTB,
the Daytona.
Big selection of Ferraris. And all of them did well for the most part. There's only one that made me a little shaky that's a big miss, and it's related to what I have. And it was a 2005 Ferrari 575. And these all came, for the most part, like almost all of them, with the flappy paddle, the automated manual transmission. Recently, they've started doing manual conversions on these cars. My 599 was one of those cars recently that had a manual conversion by an outfit called EAG that's been having some problems lately, a lot of drama with them. And this was a 575 that was in the shop getting done.
At EAG?
At EAG when I was there. I saw this car.
Right.
It was one of their first 575 conversions they were making into a gated manual to where you can have the clutch again and roll your gears. They just take the robot out that controls the clutch and the shifts, and they put the pedals back in, the shifter back in to where it's analog again.
Right.
And a lot of work, not only in the conversion, which was, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, I think the case on these. There was another $30,000 in recent service work done on this 575. And the cheapest 575s that have any of these conversions done, they're around, $100,000 before all the servicing, before all that stuff. This one sold for $110,000.
Right.
So the conversion, I think it's actually closer to $50,000 for the conversion, maybe $40,000. The conversion and then all the servicing. This guy sold it a year ago for $175, and I guess whoever brought it to Barrett-Jackson, and they only got $110 with fees. Right. Which is for a guy holding on to a conversion 599, thinking, did that conversion, with all the drama surrounding EAG and people worrying about servicing for manual conversions, is the enthusiasm for them dying down, or is just sort of a one-off thing?
Or is it specifically EAG and the drama that people don't want to get involved with?
I don't know. I know the manual conversions, when I first finished my car, I could have sold it for $200, and now they're selling for about $150, about what it would cost to buy the car and then have it done. Right. That's the only one where I was kind of like,
So if you would have seen this before you did your manual conversion, would it have stopped you from
probably,
doing yours?
Or if I didn't have mine already sitting in the garage, I would have probably bought this because it was so much value for money because it was barely more than what a normal 575 cost, and it had the conversion done. It's been all serviced up. Right. Nice clean Carfax car, I believe.
Right.
So
it's hard to judge
35,000 miles,
car
not too high.
At one auction to kind of breathe a different life into these manual conversions.
Yep. So I'm a big fan of manual conversions. I know EAG is still working. They're still operating, working on Murcielago conversion, which will be a big deal for Lamborghini because most of those are E-year cars, and the premium for manual is like 3 times what a normal Murcielago is. Crazy, or more in some cases. So there's definitely a market there for it. And then plenty of other outfits are doing manual conversions and servicing them. So I'm not too worried about it, but it's still just one like, I wish.
Right. It made you think.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but overall, I would say it was, there were some big results.
Right.
I think what we saw in Monterey, I think buyers are more picky. And if it's done with everything correct, it brings the big money. Right. And if it's not, it doesn't. So if you're going to bring your car to auction, you just bring your A game. And if it's going to have issues, if it's going to be too custom and too, niche for how you like it versus, like a more mass market build, you got to temper your expectations, I think, a little bit. Well,
that's the thing, though. You never really know. It just takes 2 people to put that price up high.
That electric El Camino for $125,000. Nobody would have thought that. And there's always big surprises like that at the auctions. So that's the name of the game. Right. So yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much for watching, and live long and prosper. I have been and always shall be. You are. I did that.
Sound like you had choked on a hairball.
Oh, so I'm not as good as Leonard Nimoy, you're saying.